But it's great, and he's basically just toying with him and just, terrifying him. But it always makes me laugh because he basically just like punches his head through the bathroom wall, and it's brutal when he breaks Decker's fingers.
But it's funny because he does that, and then he gives him his weapon back.
Yeah, but he breaks the two fingers on his right hand, on his dominant hand, his gun hand, and then he gives him the weapon back, figuring that now he's got to shoot lefty. But he says, "Oh, now you're gonna have to shoot straight." But immediately, like Ford just like blasts through the wall at him. Misses. I think he clips him because I think that's how he gets the blood on his ear. I think part of that hits him, whether it's the
shrapnel or something.
The shrapnel from the wall, or the round coming from the blaster. Which, by the way, I always wanted a replica of the blaster. I think it's one of the coolest props in sci-fi.
Oh yeah, you and me both, man.
And coincidentally, years ago, when we were together, Susie got me a lapel pin of the blaster, but I don't think she knew what it was.
Oh, it was just by coincidence?
Yeah, she had like a few, they were like sci-fi lapel pins. Because one is like a Darth Vader lightsaber, and the other is a blaster, and I forget what the third one was. I'd have to dig through my collection and see. But yeah, like I have a lapel pin of the blaster. And I always kind of wanted to wear that, but I was like, oh, it looks like a gun. Are people going to get the wrong idea if I wear this? Would they know what it is? We touched on it earlier, but with the murder of Zora, basically, which is what it is, because he shoots her in the back. But also, when he goes to the building to look for Sebastian, knowing that Pris might be there and Batty. He doesn't look for Sebastian because he knows Sebastian dead because he finds out that he's dead from the police report on the Terrell murder. They find Sebastian's body as well. But he goes to find Pris, and when he finds her, she's posing as one of the toys. Which it's another kind of coincidence because that same summer in E.T., there's that scene where she's looking in the closet, the mom is looking in the closet, and E.T. is posing as one of the toys, or one of the stuffed animals in the closet. But that's what Daryl-Hannah is doing, is she's kind of posing as one of the toys that Sebastian makes. And then when Decker gets close to her, then she freaks out and starts beating him up. But as she's toying with him, she goes back to, and she's kind of doing some cartwheels or somersaults or something. What would you call that?
Yeah, definitely some gymnastics. She does some somersaults towards him and lands perfectly around his on his neck area. And
yeah, she's gonna choke him to death with her thighs, basically.
And then she spins his head around. It almost looks like she breaks his neck, but she's spinned his whole body around.
Yeah, she spins his body around so he's facing up at her, and then she kind of boxes his ears, and then she drops him to the floor, and then she goes back and she's gonna kind of do some cartwheels towards him again. And then he manages to grab his blaster and shoot her, and it's so brutal. Because he shoots her right through the stomach.
And she starts going into convulsions, right?
Yeah, and then he shoots her a second time. And these are androids, but they're pretty much like humans, because when they get shot, it's blood and gore. And it looks so awful and upsetting. How he nails her in the gut, and then she shoots her a second time to kill her, and it's just real brutal and visceral.
She doesn't really. You expect her to stop because she's screaming really loud, and then he shoots her a second time, and she doesn't really stop.
And then that's when Batty comes in, and then as we talked about, there's that great chase through the Bradbury building, which looks like it's falling apart around them. There's all those shots of all the leaks, the water seeping down the walls, The drywall, you can just like put your hand right through it. Like the building is probably condemned, but Sebastian's place didn't look that bad. It looked pretty clean and pretty well put together. But the rest of the building is just garbage. Have you ever seen that building? Have you ever been in there? It's the Bradbury Building in Los Angeles.
I don't believe so. No.
It's a very cool building. It's got a very distinctive look. It's in 100 movies and TV shows. Isn't that at the end of 500 Days of Summer? Isn't that where he goes to have the job interview at the end? Yeah. I believe it's in the Bradbury Building.
Oh, where he ends up meeting that girl Autumn? Is that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's a Bradbury Building. I thought that I had a list of like all the movies and TV shows that had popped up in, but no. Because somewhere I came across that, and it was just like insane, like the amount of movies that it's popped up, because it's got that very distinctive look. You know, let's talk about the end of the film. Deckard tries to jump the roof. He's holding on for dear life, about to slip off. You know, he's only got one really good hand, and it's raining and pouring, so, you know, he's about to fall. Batty jumps over to his side, and just as he's about to fall, Batty saves him. You know, he spent the last 10, 15 minutes of the movie trying to kill him, basically. Or at least trying to terrorize him.
Because I feel like he's super bummed about the murder of Pris.
Yeah.
Because, you know, they do that shot right before where he's like kind of grieving over her body, and then he loses his shit and goes after Deckard, you know? So then when we get to the roof, you think that he's gonna, you know, either or just watch him. He's waiting to watch Deckard fall to his death, and he pretty much does the exact opposite. And in that second, he grabs him, you know, as Deckard's about to fall, and uses his strength to pull him over the edge. And that's when he does that great monologue that we talked about at the top of the show.
Yes. And I believe that the reason he saves his life at the last minute is because he had found that humanity. You know, and that's the monologue that he gives at the end, talking about everything that he's seen and how that stuff will disappear. It's kind of like he's more human in that moment than even Deckard was.
And he's it's a somber moment because he's also coming to the realization that, like, you know, once he perishes, he won't be able to share those memories with anyone else. They'll be lost, you know.
Yeah, those experiences that he's had. But I believe that's why he saved his life, is because he's found that humanity. And this was kind of that journey of him looking for it and trying to find it. That's what his whole deal with Tyrell was. And
so, do we know? Obviously, he dies on the roof in that moment. But is it just because his lifespan ended?
I think that's what you're supposed to infer. But his incept date is like January of 2016, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
So he technically had a couple of months left, but he's obviously dying. You can see that in the beginning when with his hand closing up, and then it does it again when he's in the building and he puts the nail through it to kind of, you know, release the ligaments or the tendons, which, you know, they're androids, but they feel pain too, because that looks really painful when he does that.
Yeah.
You know, he screams in pain as he puts the nail through his hand. But yeah, I believe, looking through and doing the research, I believe his incept date is January of 2016, and he still had a couple of months left. But either that means the movie takes place over a couple of months, which I doubt. I think it's just kind of narratively convenient that he dies, but I'm not going to sit here and pick it apart.
Do you think Deckard really understood what he was trying to tell him?
I think he realizes, you know, kind of what's going on, and, you know, I think in that moment when Gaff asks him, you know, if he's done, and he says, "Yeah, I'm finished." I think he knows that, you know what, I don't want to do this again. I want to go and live my life. And I think that experience with Batty and that monologue and what Batty tells him, I think that's when he realizes, you know, this guy showed his humanity, and we can be like that too.
And I don't necessarily think that this one has a bad ending when he goes and he basically rescues, you know, Rachel and they run off together. Yes, it doesn't really give us closure as to what their plan is, the way that other cut does. Like, but it's still, I mean, it's still a good ending for Deckard and Rachel. Yeah,
you're talking the ending where they get in the elevator and that's it, right?
Yeah.
So you're not talking the theatrical ending where they're like driving through the woods and it's like super happy.
That's what I'm saying is like going back to what your buddy said, that he loved the happy ending, but it's like, yeah, but this ending isn't it's not a negative one, you know?
No, like, you know exactly what they're up to. He was supposed to retire her as per Bryant's orders, and even Gaff makes allusions to it, but Gaff, you know, that's what he says. It's too bad she won't live, but then again, who does? Like, he knows that she's gonna die anyways. Whether Deckard kills her or not. She's gonna die anyways, but Gaff can kind of realize, you know what? This guy and him or Deckard and Rachel deserve this, you know, kind of happy life together, however long that is. And Deckard just, you know, runs off with her. But he was never going to kill her.
No, because she even, you know, back towards the middle of the movie, she asks him point blank in his, I think they're in his, like, a bunker apartment. She's like, you know, if I were to run off, are you going to hunt me down? And he looks at her and says no.
Yeah, she says, hey, I can go north. You know, would you hunt me down? And he says, no, I owe you because you saved my life. And that's not verbatim, but that's basically what he says. Mm-hmm. Because he's accosted by Leon, and Leon's about to kill him. And she's the one that shoots Leon.
With the fingers through the eyes again?
Yeah, Leon's about to put the fucking fingers into his eye sockets. Brutal. When they mention the people that they killed, like the colonists and everything, like, is that how they killed all of them? That seems to be their finishing move. But yeah, he says, you know, you saved my life. And I won't, but somebody else will. You know, there will be somebody to step up and take my place regardless.
And that's also interesting that Rachel, even though she's already figured out that she's a replicant at this time, still takes Deckard's side. You know, she's still fighting for that individuality and not really accepting her, you know, herself as a replicant, and that's she proves that with saving Deckard and shooting Leon, you know, in the head, I guess. So I just thought that's super interesting that that furthers their relationship, where Deckard's like, okay, like, she's really, you know, she's down for me no matter what.
She says ride or die.
And
well, that's like you said, back with the Tyrell thing, like, more human than human.
Yes. Which is, you know, I feel like this is a play on corporations. You can't develop, you know, something through science that's superior and then just, you know, when it becomes a sentient being, just toss it away like trash whenever you feel like it. You know what I mean? That's how, you know, the fucking Matrix or, you know, Skynet happens.
Throw it away. Well, that's why they had the 4-year lifespan built in.
That's right.
I think they were trying to kind of put that cap on. I think Tyrell even says that, like, they're trying to cap it before they really develop this humanity. Because, you know, you create something that is more human than human, and eventually they will take over and replace humanity. And I think that's the thing that we're worried about even in the real world today is if